Alright guys, so let's talk about a movie that I watched for the first time, which is The Nutty Professor, starring Eddie Murphy. Now, I haven't seen Jerry Lewis's original, Nutty Professor, but I'll probably watch it eventually, and I feel like it's going to be different than this movie, because this one I feel like since Eddie Murphy's in it, they made it more, especially for the time period, more raunchy and more silly than probably the Jerry Lewis one. It's probably played him a little more safe, but I don't know, I haven't seen that one, so... So let's talk about Eddie Murphy's The Nutty Professor. This is one I just never saw all the way through as a kid. I have seen scenes of it, of course. The scene with where like the mother character, like Eddie Murphy's, like who Eddie Murphy plays, like she's talking to the little boy, one of the family members, and says Hercules, 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 and does like the hand clap. I've always seen that scene throughout my life, but I've never watched this movie all the way through. And watching this one, I thought this was hilarious. I thought it was genuinely funny. And the opening of the movie started in such a hilarious way because you've got this aerobics guy who, since Eddie Murphy's character is so fat, he's so fat that, like, he keeps watching these aerobics shows. There's this aerobics guy who's just like doing these things with all these people he's training, and he's saying stuff like "I'm a pony, I'm a pony, I'm a pony," and it's really funny because it's just so so silly, just out there. And I really like how it opens up with he goes to his school because he's the professor. He goes to the college, and all these hamsters are just literally let on the run, they're loose. There's like a million of them just running around, and all this chaos ensues. Like, there's this guy talking to a girl he likes, and then a hamster goes up his pants, and then the hamster starts shaking in his pants, so she thinks he's got like a big penis, and she just looks at him like, oh. And gags like that are hilarious. And then there's a random thing where a hamster will fly into a woman's mouth, and she'll be like, oh, and then like she'll fall over. Like stuff like that is really funny. And I love that the opening was just so silly with that. And then, like, evil Larry Miller's character, who's, like, I think the dean of the school or whatever, where, like, he's got his coffee, and, of course, there's a hamster on the light, and he's pooping into his coffee, and Eddie Murphy's like, don't drink it, and he's like, don't tell me what to do, and he keeps drinking his poop coffee. Like, stuff like that is really silly, but it really made me laugh a lot. And the scenes with his family, all of these characters except the little kid, is all played by Eddie Murphy, his whole family. And it's funny because it's funny to see this and see that there are so many Madea movies, because obviously Tyler Perry completely took the idea from Eddie Murphy doing this. And maybe there's somebody else who did this before this, but Eddie Murphy, I think, is one of the big ones that did multiple family members where they were all just played by him. And it was so hilarious. Like, it was really, really funny because all these characters, the way Eddie Murphy plays them all, had really different personalities. The Clump family, and they all just are really funny. Like, they would all say dirty stuff, or they'd all say, like, just really stupid stuff out for no reason. And again, it feels so much like Madea, because it's a pre-Madea, and they do it with this first. So I just thought it was funny. And of course this has the famous scene where, like, the little fat kid is, like, flexing his muscles, and the mom's like, oh, my little Hercules, 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 and she does the hand clap, but she just touches her arms like that. It's so funny, and the scenes with the families are so hilarious. I really love that the most out of the movie. And there's a really great scene where, like, Eddie Murphy, Mr. Clump, is like, he has a nightmare where, like, he becomes as big as, like, King Kong, and, like, he like destroys the city, and he farts, and, like, it causes an earthquake, and, like, stuff like that, and it's so really funny. And then he has this experiment go wrong where, like, he becomes actual, like, normal-sized Eddie Murphy, and, like, he plays Buddy Love, who is his alternate side of him, where he's, like, this douchebag character, and he's really funny. And I like how he's trying to get with Jada Pinkett, where, like, she's working at the school, but, like, he's both these personalities, and she doesn't know that, and it really is funny of her playing off this reaction to it. I really liked that a lot. And then there were some jokes that didn't work for me, of course, and I can't really remember what, but there were, like any comedy, there's for the most part with any comedy I ever see, there's a few jokes that don't work. There's a few exceptions, like Airplane might be one of my favorite comedies ever because I don't think like there's any jokes in that movie that make me like not like it. Like this one had a couple jokes where I was like, okay, this is just kind of dumb. Like whenever the assistant that Mr. Clump works with, like he's in the car with him and he's small Eddie Murphy, but then he turns big and it's like CGI where it just makes him where he becomes big, then small, then big, then small, and like they're screaming and they're driving backwards and like cars are gonna hit him. I didn't think that was as funny as I thought it would be, but I mean it's just that there's a couple jokes I didn't think were hilarious, but this still had a lot of really funny jokes and I really did like the jokes overall. And again, I love the second dinner scene where Jada Pinkett is there and the family is like being really dirty and really random, just saying stuff that makes her feel so uncomfortable, and it's funny to see that reaction. And I liked how this was funny, but it also had some heart to it. Like I did like that you wanted, that you kind of wanted him to get the girl. You wanted him to actually lose the weight, and maybe that didn't fully go with like his ending arc of the movie, but I did like that a lot, and I did like this character. I liked all this humor. All these characters were really funny and silly, but I really enjoyed overall. This was a really fun movie, and it really was genuinely funny for me. Eddie Murphy, of course, is incredibly hilarious. So I really love this, and I can't believe I hadn't watched this before. Of course, I've seen scenes from it, of course, like the Hercules scene, but I really enjoyed watching this. I'm so glad I finally got to and got to talk to it on this talk about it on this channel. Getting tongue tied. So tell me down below what you think of the original, or I mean the remake of the Nutty Professor, and thank you guys so much for watching.